What's up everyone, my name is Josh and this is Josh Unboxed, and welcome back to another video. The topic of this particular video right here is my outlook or my thoughts on the whole grading situation and my plans on it, because lately I've been focusing a lot on raw cards. Some of my previous pickups videos has a huge emphasis on raw cards, and not only that, I've been buying other grading company slabs like SGC, BGS, and on top of that, I've been buying some mid high-end slabs. I guess I don't really want to call PSA 8s low grades. I know I referenced that a little bit, but I do consider those to be decent grades. I guess you can call them mid high-end grades. But yeah, I've been focusing on that, like with my Jordans and my Kobe's, and then some low grade iconic cards or rookies of iconic players. And that's been my strategy, my outlook lately, as I really put the emphasis towards the long term. And because my mindset is, long-term mindset, long-term line of thinking, that's a similar approach that I'm going to take on when PSA opens back up with their grading service. Now, as you can tell, I've been buying up a lot of raw cards with the idea of submitting them to get graded through PSA when they open up. So why PSA? Well, obviously because at this current moment, and who knows what the future holds, who knows if things will change and PSA is no longer going to be the number one grading service used out there, but they currently are. And the PSA slab holds a lot more value than a SGC or a BGS. Yes, I do focus on buying the card, not the grade. I do focus on buying the card and not the slab. But when it comes to long-term investing, you do want to get something that will sustain its value over time and appreciate over time. That's not to say BGS cards or SGC cards are not going to appreciate over time or hold its value over time. But my thought process on SGC and BGS is, yes, you can get those cards for a pretty good discount as compared to a PSA card. And if it's a good enough grade, that you might want to consider cracking out and submitting to PSA to put it in the PSA slab. That's one approach that I'm contemplating a bit, which I may focus on sometime in the future. But currently right now, the idea is to submit my cards through PSA, but through the whole entire value bulk submission. I'm gonna try not to do like super express, regular, walkthrough. I'm done with that unless I feel the card can really get a PSA 10, or it's a card that will significantly increase in value once graded, or it's a card that's already a high value card initially raw. Then I would focus on those submission categories. But most of the cards I plan on submitting will be through value or bulk submissions. And I know that it may take forever, right? And part of the reason why a lot of people submit through the faster service or higher dollar services is to get their cards back as quickly as possible in order to make the quick flip. And my mindset is veering away from the quick flip in terms of getting cards graded and trying to flip cards. The quick flip mindset is more about finding value in dollar bins and moving those cards, as you saw in one of my previous pickups videos. In terms of when I went to the card show, I got a couple of cards at a nice value to be able to flip those and turn those into something else, and then use that card to purchase other things, or use that money to purchase other things. But when I talk about PSA grading and how I'm going to go about it with the value submissions, is that I'm selecting cards that can appreciate over time or have long-term value. So for example, in my video in which I picked up some cards at those two card shows, at the Aristocrat card show, I got this Tom Brady, the 2002 Topps Tom Brady card. Now the condition of this card isn't great, right? There is chipping on the bottom edge and some corner issues in the back, but this is a card that if I submitted it through bulk or value submission, whether it's $20, $25 a card, I still feel that the card will appreciate over time, especially in years, because this is Brady's first Topps card. I feel that something like that, is worth submitting bulk, and with the idea of not trying to get it into PSA 10, but at a PSA 8, I still think it holds some pretty good value over time. So I have patience. I can wait. I don't need to get these cards back right away, because if I'm selecting cards that have good long-term value or can appreciate more over time, then I'll submit it through the value submission. And I'd rather get upcharged through that value submission versus having to take the risk of paying $300 for a card to come back within a month or in a couple of weeks, only for it to come back as a PSA 9 or a PSA 8. At least with a value submission, even if it comes in a PSA 8, you're not really out that much. And if it gets upcharged, then great. Yes, you lose time, but if you're selecting cards that appreciate over time, then that makes it worth it, in my opinion. And you got to understand, a lot of this actually happened during the whole entire, everyone sent their cards to PSA. When the whole base explosion started happening, a lot of people submitted their cards through value submission. These cards appreciated over that short time, or actually jumped up during that time. By the time they got it back, these cards were worth X amount. Similar concept, but we're looking, like I said, long-term, longevity, a long-term mindset. Now, the reason why I started thinking about this is because, I started watching a bunch of other content, not just sports cards. I've followed Rudy from Alpha Investments. I've watched PokeRev, I think, or the PokeVault, because my son is into Pokemon, and a lot of financial YouTube channels that always talk about one that said one thing that really resonated with me, and something that I'm trying to apply towards this sports card market, and that is time in the market will always beat timing the market. So the idea is time in the market, finding cards that will appreciate over time in the long run, because that's you having time in the market, spending time in the market, versus trying to time the market, buying the dips, trying to submit cards through PSA in order to get your cards back before the season starts. There's a lot of risks involved. You're really restricted through time and hoping that you get your cards in within a certain time to be able to make that flip. Whereas when you're buying cards that have long-term value, then you can afford to wait over time. At least that's my thoughts on the matter. So yeah, that's my whole thing on with grading. We could talk more about the whole time in the market versus timing the market in another video, but I feel like I just wanted to talk about my current position and when it comes to grading and how my outlook is, or my outlook, or how I'm looking at it towards more of a long-term mindset versus the short-term flips. Yes, I still do short-term flips, but we're just mainly dealing with raw cards or buying already graded cards to flip later on within a few months or so. But when it comes to really establishing your footing and really trying to succeed long-term, then it's all about sticking with it and taking your time and just understand what cards will appreciate, what players will appreciate over time, and just focus on that. Build your position to set yourself up long-term, similar to my position with Kobe Bryant rookie cards, similar to my position with sealed Pokemon products. We're establishing footing to be able to set us up for the long term. Now, whether you agree or disagree is really up to you. It is your opinion. These are just my opinions, my thoughts. And if you found some value in this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. And with that being said, my name is Josh, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.